Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's weekly live immigration attorney chat here at Immigration for Couples. I'm happy to be with all of you. I see you're all trickling in here and that we already have comments and questions coming in as well. I always like to start out by asking, where are you at in the world? Where are you at in your immigration journey? Most importantly, how are you doing? I know it's a very stressful time to go through an immigration journey, especially right now with everything that's going on in politics and immigration. So keep the comments and all of that coming in here. Yes, I know there's going to be a lot of questions about the travel ban and the expanded pause on applications. So where are you at in the world? Where are you at in your immigration journey? And most importantly, how are you doing? All right. Good morning, Gerald. Great to see you here. You're very welcome. Great to have you with us. All right. So we have Joseph, great to see you. Your question is first up in the queue. So I see you're here from Kenya and an interview on the 15th and wanting some interview tips. We can definitely go over that. All right. South Georgia, great to have you with us and Happy New Year to everybody as well. All right. So you're located in North Carolina, Monique, and your husband is in Nigeria. All right. So for those of you who are new, welcome. For those of you who've been with us for quite a while, welcome back. Just a little bit of an overview of who we are and our work in the world here at Immigration for Couples. We are dedicated exclusively to helping couples across the nation and across the world and navigating the U.S. immigration process. We have tons of free resources and support for all of you. We know it can be very overwhelming, like I said earlier, to go through an immigration process. That's why we host these live events every week. So we can be together in community, so you know you're not alone, and so you can get up-to-date information, tips, and advice on navigating a couple-based immigration process. We also have a free resource center that's rolling on the screen there below, immigrationforcouples.com. Tons of free resources. You can get a free chapter from my book, which is, I always do that because of the mirror right behind me here, Navigating Love and Immigration. The free chapter is about proving your relationship is real to immigration. So you want to check all of that out. All right. Yeah. So you're here, you're in Israel, you're doing well. You're looking at starting a direct file once you have that job offer. That's great. And yes, and Ria's putting all of those links in for everybody as well. All right. I have someone here in Florida. All right, so we can go ahead and without further ado and dive into the questions. Joseph, like I said, you're first up here in the queue. And just as a reminder, I am streaming this live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. So I'm getting questions from all of those places, and I answer them in the order that I receive them. So Joseph, you're asking, or you're telling rather, and then asking about the interview. So that's exciting that the interview is just right around the corner here in 9 days, January 15th in Nairobi in Kenya. And you want to know if I have any advice for the interview. I have lots of advice, and I'll do the brief version because we have a ton of free resources as well. And Ria can throw the links into those other videos I've made about preparing for the interview. I know this is a consular interview, and some of the videos I made are more related to the USCIS immigration interview, but the questions, I have a video with a lot of common interview questions that's very helpful. A lot of those questions will come up in both a consular interview and a USCIS interview. So in terms of interview tips, of course, first and foremost, make sure you're following the instructions from the consular post, that you're completing the medical exam, that you're completing registration, you're following all of those steps and to a T. They're very, you have to make sure you do all of those items, and then making sure all of the documents that are required are in order. Most embassies and consulates require you to bring not only the original, so like your passport and birth certificate, but also copies of everything as well. And there are certain documents that are unique based on your particular case. So sometimes if an individual has had a name change, you'd have to bring legal name change document proof. So you'll want to look through that list and make sure you have all of those documents in order and organized. And then in terms of the actual interview, preparation. I always say, preparation is key. I can't emphasize that enough. I know couples say, well, we know each other, we love each other, like we know our relationship. What is there to prepare? But the reality is, when you've been in a relationship for a while, some of the dates and the timeline can blur together. With each passing year, I'll say that happens more, more and more. All of the different events and adventures and life events and all of that can start to blur together. And so it's good to do what we call in the legal world a refreshing of your recollection. So going back through your timeline and making sure you're clear on, oh yes, this is the month and year when we met, and this is when we had our first date, and this is when we got engaged, and just going through and making sure that you have that timeline, committed to memory. Because immigration, when you submit your application, they have all of those details because it's in the evidence typically, letters of support and things like that. There'll be dates. And so it's good to go through that application, refresh your recollection, and then watch that video that I created with some of the common interview questions. Always be honest, never lie. I know you weren't planning on doing that. Always be honest. If you don't know the answer to a question, it's always better to not guess, but give the details that you do know. And if you don't understand a question, it's really important to ask for them to clarify or to repeat the question. It's imperative that you understand what's being asked before answering. All right. So those are some of my most common interview tips in a nutshell. So, all right. All right, Lisa, great to have you with us. You're a native English tutor and an academy director from the UK. So great to have you with us. Thanks for joining today. Let's see I see Maria's here with us. Yes, a happy, blessed New Year to you as well, Maria. It's great to see you. And you're with your fiance in Alaska and you're watching the live together. That makes my heart so very happy. You're together and learning. So you're hoping, you're hoping for the DOS transfer soon. We're optimistic and praying for a smooth process. We're doing the same. So hopefully, I know that getting the petition approved is so exciting. And then I know for a lot of couples, this prolonged transfer process of months can be just a little frustrating, right? But you have the right mindset, being optimistic. That's great. You're able to be together and just taking things step by step. Every day you're getting closer. So lovely to have you with us. And I'm so happy that you get to be together on the same, together in the same place. So awesome. You're very welcome, Joseph. I'm so glad that was helpful. Best of luck at the interview. If you're able to join us for the next live and let us know how it goes, if you're willing to do that, that would be very great and helpful for all of the other couples who are going through a process to know they're not alone. Seeing that finish line is very inspiring, especially with everything that's going on, right? All right. Okay, so you completed your application and you're waiting on a visa, or the interview is what you're saying, right? From Bogota, Colombia. And you've been waiting since 10/8 of 2025. You're not sure what's taking so long. I'd like a little bit more details if you can share those with me. Is it a fiance visa? Is it a spouse visa? That would be helpful. So fiance or spouse visa, and when was the petition approved? Then I can give you a little bit more details on what we're seeing in terms of wait time. Awesome, Joseph. That's so great. Yeah, if you're able, that's very inspiring for others. So, but we're sending you prayers and positive vibes for a good interview outcome. All right. You're very welcome, Maria. I love all the emojis, right? Okay. So you have a spouse visa that was approved on October 8th, 2025. So I assume that when you're saying you're waiting for the interview, that you completed everything with the National Visa Center, right? That you completed everything with the National Visa Center, your case has been documentarily qualified, and then you're in line for an interview. So if that's the case, yes, interview scheduling can take quite a few months. Okay, perfect. Good. You just said yes, ma'am. So good. So we're on the same page. So once the case is documentarily qualified, and I don't know if that happened in October, if it happened shortly after, but it can take quite a few months for the interview to be scheduled. There is an interview scheduler estimator tool. Ria, this is the video that I have you pull up the most. It's one of our short videos. If you could find that in the shorts. But there's a tool that the National Visa Center has that you can take your documentarily qualified date. You can plug it into this tool based on the country, and it gives you an estimate of where they're scheduling interviews. So from what documentarily qualified date they are scheduling interviews, and they can give you an estimate about how long it takes. I'll say on average, for our clients that are having their interview in Colombia specifically, that it does take around 4 to 6 months for an interview, give or take. It really just changes on a monthly basis, but on average that's what we're seeing, and that tool can be very helpful. Ria, if you she's got it. I was going to say, if you can't find it, let me know and I'll give you some more details. But yeah, I think that's the video I have you post the most, so you probably had it all queued up. So check that out there. Check out that tool and then you'll be able to see. But you're welcome. All right. Let's see who's next in the queue. Yeah, this is a hard situation to be in. I empathize. My heart hurts for you and for everyone who is impacted by the travel bans, by the pause. It's just extremely inhumane. And so, and good morning to you. I know you say you're from Zimbabwe. You filed your fiance visa in July. And you're really feeling very nervous and devastated by the recent travel ban and immigration bans, which includes Zimbabwe. You're not sure what that means for you. So the pause, there have been travel bans and then there have been pauses. Travel bans apply to US embassies and consulates. I'm just trying to simplify it. And then the pauses apply to USCIS now. So applications that were filed in the US and USCIS is reviewing. That pause has now been expanded to all of the countries on the travel ban list. And right now, there's a lot of unknowns about what that pause means. I actually, go to interviews with clients across the country and talk with immigration officers all the time. And I'll tell you that they say the same thing, that, hey, these policies come out and oftentimes we know at the same time you do, and we're learning and trying to understand what they mean and the impact. But right now, the pause is essentially saying that applications cannot be reviewed. They have to be paused. And then they're re-reviewing applications that were previously filed and potentially rescheduling interviews. But like I said, immigration officers have also said they're waiting for further guidance on how it will be applied. So what it means is it's likely going to be a prolonged pause. It will likely add additional wait time to your case. It's going to be it's a very complex situation. There's already been litigation. The government is already being sued for the travel bans, for the pauses. We're likely to see continued litigation. We're talking with our clients about, if you are impacted, looking at options for litigation. So what does that mean? That means suing the government for a law that's unlawful, or for a policy change rather that's unlawful. So looking at litigation, I don't know if you currently have an immigration attorney, but speak with him or her. Do they handle litigation? If not, looking for a litigation firm would be your next option to really to sue the government, to file a lawsuit to challenge this decision. It's an extreme measure, but it's unfortunately something that's going to be needed more and more, especially with this administration. So I hope that helps give you some clarity. It's not what you want to hear, I know. Again, my heart goes out to you, to you and everyone who's impacted. So looking for a litigation attorney. There's something called impact litigation. They're not associated with immigration for couples, but I do know that they do focus exclusively in litigation work, suing the government, especially with all of these immigration. There's been so many immigration policies that they have filed litigation. So looking at that as an option too. So, all right. Yeah. And you're very welcome. I regret to hear that's been your experience, but definitely looking at litigation options. I mean, this is a very new policy. The travel bans are not; those happened, last year. But this new expansion, and so we're having to take it day by day and see what the updates are and see the impacts. You don't have to jump to litigation immediately, but right now, there is a pause, and if you're wanting to consider all options, which I'm sure you are, litigation is a next step in this situation. All right. Okay, who is next in the queue? Yeah, I get this question a lot about, should I upload more evidence to my online account, that my application is still pending, to avoid an RFE or to speed up approval. So starting point, David, I-751 removal of conditions, they're taking a solid 3 to 4 years to even review those applications. I know that's shocking, that even though I say it all the time when people are asking for wait times. It still feels crazy to say it takes 3 to 4 years to get a decision from the government on removal of conditions, but it does. So 9 months, you're a day closer every day, but it's a long haul. If you want to upload, more evidence as the process goes, you can do that. To be clear, it's not going to speed up the approval. But it's helpful to have, updated relationship evidence. You can do that. Typically, though, what's best is to file a very solid application at the beginning when you first file, which I'm sure you did. And then from there, keep collecting that relationship evidence. And then when you get to future steps in the process, there could be an interview. There has been talk by this administration that they are planning on doing more interviews for removal of conditions. That's not a current policy, but that's a possibility. And then you could take it to the interview. But you can, and it doesn't hurt to upload some updated, when you file your tax returns and all of that, it doesn't hurt to upload some additional evidence. Really though, it won't speed up the approval. Could it mitigate a request for evidence? Yes, and not always. Filing a strong application at the beginning is really key, but it doesn't hurt. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah. You're right. That what you filed initially was strong, and you're anticipating they would need new refreshed evidence when they finally begin the process due to the elapsed time. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible they could send a request for evidence. They could still send a request for evidence after you've uploaded all of that. So it's a little bit of a balance. You're going to be providing all the evidence that you have and keep it all updated. And then they could still, as part of their process, send a request for evidence. You just want to make sure you have more evidence that you can provide if that happens. It doesn't hurt. Definitely never hurts to be, overly prepared and try to avoid those requests for evidence. But yeah, so great question. All right, who's next in the queue? Oh, this is great, Monique. So you said your husband, you both submitted your I-130 in June of 2025. You're doing well. You were able to spend Christmas and New Year's together, and you were finally able to meet your husband's family in person. That's a really great way to spend the holidays. I'm really glad that you were, both able to be together, and that's great. I know you were here last time letting us know that you had filed. So excellent. Yeah. You're right. The very, very long I-130 wait time. So, and good morning to you. You're here for the weekly check-in from Texas and UK. You're both doing well, super productive and positive despite the long wait. That's good. I'm glad to hear that that's your state of mind. Yes. Okay. So your question is the visa process queue simply viewed by the date submitted, or do factors like the beneficiary's country's links to America play a part in the review time? So it is the very first step. So if you filed the petition, that's USCIS, that's handled inside of the US. So all I-130 spouse-based applications are supposed to be processed on that same wait time track, and the country of origin wouldn't necessarily impact wait time. However, with the travel bans and the pause, if for individuals who are on the pause list and the travel ban countries, it can impact, the wait time, of course, because the cases are being paused. However, in terms of does it play a review time for the USCIS side? Typically, no. Where the country of origin will come into play is when the interview is being scheduled, because that happens at the U.S. Embassy or consulate in that immigrant beneficiary's country of birth, country of origin. And so that wait time will vary based on country. But for the USCIS, the very first step, all applications are supposed to be processed in the same line. Though I will say, just because somebody files before someone else, sometimes they get a decision after. So it's just, they're supposed to review an order, but that doesn't always happen with the government and immigration. All right. Okay. So, all right. So Elizabeth, West Virginia, you're still in administrative processing. And if by chance he is eventually approved, will the travel ban affect his ability to come over? Yes, it absolutely can. If he is on the travel ban list, then it can. I mean, the travel ban is essentially saying if you have an interview or a visa that's after the travel ban date, so after the start of this year, that you're banned from being able to enter unless you can get a special exception. And this is why I said at the beginning, it's really an ever evolving area of immigration law. It's constantly changing. These policies are being interpreted and how they'll be applied. But the short answer is yes, it can impact his ability to come over. And I would really encourage you to, I can't recall if you were at the last live and said you had an attorney or not, but to speak with your immigration attorney about options, see if they handle litigation, see what's the plan for your case, because litigation might be something that you will have to consider as part of your process. So definitely can impact the case. All right. Okay. I'm sorry. I just want to go through. I have some of the links that Ria put in. Like I said, I'm getting questions and comments from 4 different places. So they're coming in and I have a long list. All right. I think I went through that question. Joseph, you said thanks. All right. All right. So you're currently in Rio with your Brazilian wife. You have a unique question about expedited requests for processing of I-130, but I don't see any more to your comment. So, okay. So here's the other part to your comment. Okay. So basically you're wondering about requesting expedited processing to have your wife there for a research program. Um, So, okay, so expedite requests, let's back up and talk about what expedite requests are and the probability of success and what the process looks like for those of you who may have not heard of it. So, when someone has an application pending, like an I-130, for example, there is an option to ask for an expedite request. Expedite requests have to be for urgent humanitarian reasons, severe financial loss. They have to be for extreme situations. Typically, it's really difficult to get an expedite request approved. I can't give you an exact percentage, but it's very low, like less than 5%, let's say. I'm not saying that that's the exact percentage, but I always have that conversation with clients to set realistic expectations of the reality of expedite requests. They're very hard. It's kind of like winning the lottery in immigration. Why? Because immigration's thought process of expedite requests and reviewing expedite requests is it has to be a really extreme or very special reason for us to be able to take you out of line and have you skip everyone else that's been waiting. All right. So that's the starting point to understand. That's the starting point. There isn't necessarily a cookie cutter list that if these things happen, you can apply for an expedite and be approved. It really can be very unique. And so, is this a possibility to ask for an expedite request? Yes. And and I'm not saying that that would necessarily be approved. It has to be structured in a way. So what we do for our clients when there is a potential for an expedite request, we really talk about all of the details in depth of the expedite request and see, is this the only basis, or are there other things in your life that are impacted, so we can make the most robust argument possible and having supporting evidence. So on its face, what you're sharing, is it possible? Yes. Is it likely to be approved? It's a very low likelihood, and you want to make sure if you're doing the expedite request that you're putting the strongest argument forward the first time, because typically immigration lets you try once. So is there a possibility there? Yes. Would I need to know a lot more details and understand what the research program looks like, what she'd be doing, the benefits to the US? I mean, there's a lot that I need to excavate and understand to know the strength of that argument and the possibility. And part of the expedite request, part of the battle rather with the expedite request, is getting immigration to pay attention, because it's not like the standard application where you file it and get a receipt notice. You have to reach out to immigration. Typically, I will call and I will speak with a tier 2 officer. There's a lot of different ways to submit expedite requests depending on your case type, service center, all of that. But getting them to listen, getting them to pay attention, getting them to understand the gravity of the situation or the unique circumstances also. So that's a long answer to say, is it possible? Yes. Is it guaranteed? No. And do you need to be very strategic in your response and preparation? Yes. So, all right. All right. You're very welcome. I'm really glad you're able to come and that you're benefiting. I know it can feel kind of lonely and stressful and a lot of different things going through an immigration journey. So I'm really happy to hear. Okay. Yeah, so these are really helpful details. Being an anesthesiologist, all of that. I've definitely had success in the arguments that I've put forth for expedite requests, but I mean, it sounds like there's potential. It sounds like there's potential there. So definitely talk with your immigration attorney about how to structure the strongest argument possible and put forth the strongest argument possible to give you the best chances of success. Okay, I'm going to do 2 or 3 more questions if I can here before I need to jet. Okay, let's see who is next in the queue. Okay, and Luria was putting the estimator tool in. Okay. All right, so let's see if I have enough information here in your question. So hi to you as well. Can you process your visa at the US Embassy outside your home country? Okay, so your passport only has a page left. So the current policies from this administration, they're being very rigid about where interviews can be conducted. And they are leaning towards, or rather, the policy states that you have to have your interview in your country of citizenship, country of birth. For some individuals, we have individuals who are, citizens of 2 countries. And so sometimes they have options in that regard. If you're wanting to process outside of your home country with current policies, that becomes a little bit more complex. And then it's also going to depend on what is your status in this other country. So let me give you an example. So for UAE, for our clients that would be processing in Abu Dhabi, they're pretty strict in the UAE about who they'll let process. So for example, if you're living there and you have a work permit, typically Abu Dhabi is not going to allow you to process there, especially with current policies. So it's going to be largely dependent on what is your country of citizenship and what is your resident country, what is your status there, what's the embassy's policies on having someone who is not a citizen of that country process there. And then what is that US embassy's or consulate's position based on the current policy? So that's the long answer. The short answer is it depends. It depends on all of those things. Is it possible? Yes. But are we seeing a trend where this administration is pretty adamant that you have to have your interview at your, country of birth and citizenship? So it's possible. In terms of the new passport, it would be probably a good idea. I don't know where you're at in the queue and how long it will take you to get a new passport. And I don't know what your embassy is and what their position is. Sometimes one page will do the trick. But it doesn't hurt. You might want to look at a new passport, but it could cause delay depending on how long it takes you to get the passport and where you're at in your journey. All right. Let's see. So let's see who's next here. Okay. All right. So your application was approved on January 3rd. That's exciting. Congratulations. And then I assume you are working on getting everything done with the National Visa Center to be placed in that queue to be documentarily qualified. From there, for our clients who are processing in London, the wait time has been relatively short, within a matter of a few months for the interview. So that should hold true. You could use that visa tool that Ria threw in the comments. That link to my video, I talk about being able to see interview wait times. And that's from documentarily qualified date. So, all right. So, Lisa, you help immigrants with English language skills, and that your invitation was an error. No, we we invite anyone who's following our social media to participate in our weekly live. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're finding it interesting, and I really appreciate your work in the world. That's very lovely that you help immigrants with English language skills. So I'm glad you were able to join us. Maybe it was just meant to be. Maybe the universe was kind of pushing you here today for us to connect. So great to have you here. Oh, this is very nice of you. So you're saying hey and wishing everybody good luck. Yes. All right. So you're wanting to know current wait times for I-130s. That's a pretty big and popular question. So yes, I-130 wait times are holding pretty solid at 17 months. And from there, the wait time for the interview will really depend on your country of origin. We've seen clients get approvals in less than 17 months. others that it's taken more time. So, but on average, that's what we're seeing right now for the I-130. All right. And that's just the petition. Like I said, the interview phase as well. So Megan, you think you were skipped, if I'm saying your name right. Um, I have a lot of questions that are coming through here. So, oh yes, I see that you had a comment that you're thinking about doing direct file. So that's awesome. You had more specific questions about forms. So to be clear, this is not the guidance I'm giving here today is not legal advice, and I do not answer form specific questions because that's very specific, tailored legal advice. It seems like you're wanting some kind of general form guidance, so I can give you some general formatting questions. I don't really like caps. If that's what you want to do, I mean, there's not, currently there's not a policy, but if you are preparing your application, it's imperative that you read through their very lengthy instructions that they like to change to make sure you're following, general formatting guidance. So the I-130 instructions, reviewing through those and reading through those is a good place to start to make sure you're in compliance with the policies at the time when you file. My personal preference, I know a lot of immigration officers don't like all caps. Would it cause a denial? Probably not. But really, it's not something that we generally see on certain applications like DS-260s and things like that. They format it that way anyway. So, but again, just read those instructions. Entering the employer name in a foreign language. I mean, yeah, whenever we have clients that there's certain fields on the forms that have to be entered in a foreign language, typically, doing copy paste, and there's different ways to go about doing that. Sometimes we can't. And so our clients will have to handwrite that part. So that might be something you want to consider if the PDF's not cooperating with you. And if a field is too short, yeah, that happens a lot. There's an addendum. Sometimes you can just do a C addendum, right? To be able to fill in those details on the addendum page. So, all right. So, but my general tip though, read the form instructions. My team and I read those form instructions on a regular basis because they love to change things. So just know I'm time stamping this as of January 6th, and that things could change by the time you file. So, be sure to read those questions. So hopefully that answers your questions. All right. Okay. You're very welcome. It's great to be with all of you here today. Okay. Oh, and here, I don't know what my computer's doing. Okay. So Maria, I got yours pulled up. Um, yes. And yes, you're very welcome. And I'm glad that it's helpful for everyone. I'm glad we can be in community, having gone through an immigration process personally with my husband. I know it can be very stressful, and it's just so important to know you're not alone. Like, you're not the only one that's going through this. You'll get to the finish line. I know it's been an uphill battle for pretty much everybody who's going through an immigration process. So hang in there and don't lose hope. I always appreciate Maria being my co-captain on Spirit and inspiration and not losing hope. So thank you for all of your words, Maria, and for being here today. Yes, and you're very welcome. All right, everybody, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, hang in there, don't lose hope. And I will see you all next week. All right, take care. Bye, everybody.